Welcome once again to Cinema Synergy. Thank you.
I didn't even say anything.
You didn't have to. Okay, anyhow, this evening we are talking about a
movie.
Yeah, movie. It's
an awesome
technically. Technically by all dictionary definitions.
What could have been
a
fantastic cinematic masterpiece.
And it's called...
It is called Nothing But Trouble.
It's not a cinematic masterpiece.
This
movie
is
Nothing But Trouble.
Starring Chevy Chase,
John
Candy.
Oh, you're not.
Written, directed, and acted in by
Sharknado is a cinematic
masterpiece.
This is movie premiere of Tupac
Shakur's movie or cinematic debut.
Wait, Tupac?
Yeah.
Tupac. Those urban youths?
Those urban youths, that was actually
Digital Underground.
I knew it had to have been a real band.
It's Humpty's band, but yeah.
Of course, Demi Moore,
Tupac's
as she was up and coming at the time for the one non-comedic role. And this movie falls flat in every way, shape, and form. It fails as a comedy because it's not funny. It fails as a horror.
Stand for the ring.
Okay. It couldn't even kill a career properly. But
maybe the best description I've heard of it yet. Yeah, we're here to talk about that and other stuff, hopefully. Because before we get into it, that whole nonsensical disagreement that apparently has come up from it. We have a movie pitch tonight. Very excited. Miss Heidi is going to be trying to sell us on a movie. Maybe it'll be a movie we'll talk about next week. I don't know. We'll figure that out later. But in the meantime, what have you got?
Okay. So the movie I'm pitching is Sid and Nancy, directed by Alex Cox. Same person who directed Repo Man, by the way, so I'm kind of continuing Jordan's theme with directors. Starring Gary Oldman and Chloe Webb. Gary Oldman, this is one of his first big roles, or maybe his actual first big role. He plays Sid Vicious, who is a member of the Sex Pistols, very famous punk rock guy in London, in the London punk scene. And Chloe Webb plays his girlfriend, Nancy Spungen. That's the best name ever. It's awful, yeah, and she's awful. If you're at all familiar with her, she's got this awful rap. And both of these actors are amazing in this movie. Part of the reason I love this movie is the acting is just fabulous. If you watch an interview with Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen, and then watch this movie, you can barely tell. I mean, they are so good at adopting these characters. So this movie takes place during the 80s punk scene in London, very early 80s, actually late 70s is I think when it starts. Everything and everyone is disgusting in this movie. There's spitting, burping, farting, fighting, sweating.
You're supposed to convince us to watch it.
This is part of me convincing you to watch it. It's punk. It's punk. So it encapsulates that disgusting scene. Sid Vicious and Johnny Rotten are like BFFs, kind of like have a bromance going. But then Nancy Spungen comes along. Sid Vicious falls in love with her, does heroin with her. They do it. Fall in love.
It's the Yoko Ono moment, really.
And so starts their train wreck of a romance, which it's I don't know if any of you are familiar with their romance. What happened with them? Well, Alex Cox does an amazing job of portraying it in an almost magical realism at times. Like it's a dreamlike movie, and there's this beautiful scene where they're like kissing by a dumpster, and there's garbage raining down around them. It's just fabulous. Like everything. I mean, I've seen this movie many times. It's one of my all-time favorites. I mean, there's just like these great scenes like throughout it. So it's a fun movie. Bit of a bummer ending, but not really, because if you look at it as like a Romeo and Juliet story, and Romeo and Juliet's not sad because those guys were idiots. That's fair. That's absolutely right. That's the best description. I'm never sad at the end of Romeo and Juliet, and I'm never sad at the end of this.
Well, luck.
So that's my pitch.
Okay.
I hope you will check it out sometime. Oh, you can't stream it right now, by the way. You can
Challenge
only get it on DVD.
Oh,
if you do it illegally, yeah, you can.
This is why footlockers exist.
That is because the Criterion Collection 30th Anniversary Edition is coming out in August. This is a part of the Criterion Collection, so that's why.
Sid and Nancy.
You want to reenact that scene?
With the guard.
They wouldn't send us any money. They said we spend it on drugs.
We would spend it on drugs, Nancy! There was no garbage or kissing, but I'm sold on it. Every enactment sold me. So.
Can I just watch the two of you reenact the whole film?
I've seen it a lot.
I definitely. Okay, so, alright, what we're talking about tonight is Nothing But Trouble. Greg, how about you introduce this movie to us, since you are responsible.
Since you're awesome,
Since
and
you
you
brought
made everybody
this
watch this.
Cox into my
Alright,
life.
I watched
Great
this
film.
movie. First of all, I believe it came out in 1991.
Correct.
I watched it when I was a little kid, and it gave me nightmares.
I'm gonna have nightmares too, but I think it's for completely different reasons.
Mainly
Pretty much my
because
reaction.
this is rural PA, given it's the other side of PA, but
Technically, it's New York. It all takes place in New York in the movie.
no, PA.
Why does New York State Police show up in the New York District Attorney?
No,
Never mind.
that's Pennsylvania State Police and District Attorney and National Guard. But
It's all
this
very
movie gave me nightmares as a
Technically, it all
child
takes
because
place in Falconmania.
yes, my grandparents lived down in Titusville, which is way down south in PA. So after watching this, we would always go to my grandparents 4 to 5 times a year. My mother drives like a mad woman, and I'm convinced we're going to get thrown in Mr. Bone Stripper. But yes, this movie is why you do not let Dan Aykroyd do anything without Harold Ramis. However, that's going to be more of a common trend now that Harold Ramis is dead.
Like I'm pretty sure like Dan Aykroyd has to do things like you know eat dinner and go to the bathroom.
No, not without Ramis.
He goes to the bathroom without Harold Ramis, and we get John Candy in drag.
Listen, I love that part.
Why am I not surprised?
No, I love John Candy throughout this whole movie.
John Candy?
I thought I don't like Chevy Chase. I think he's a smug motherfucker.
That's why I like Chevy Chase.
That's part of the Chevy Chase role that he plays in every movie.
The charm of Chase.
I liked Chevy Chase, and I like what John Candy did in this movie.
So,
In both parts, actually.
Mr. Sermon,
Yes.
before we get too much into this, do you want me and Jordan to just holler at each other
Or
for
should I
a
give
time
us an
period?
I really do. I really do.
Shall I give it
Go on,
some
cheers.
outside?
Unless somebody else wants to. I was gonna get to there's actually a little bit of history into what happened to the making of this film. Apparently,
Save it.
Okay.
Dog, your place with Jordan.
Alright. Actually, Greg, can you scoot over so I can just get a shot of these real quick?
It's worth noting before this starts, this movie cost $40 million to make.
You're shitting me.
Yes, Jordan shall be
Star power
finished.
budget.
Jesus.
It made $8.5 million at the box office.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Of course it doesn't mean anything.
If it's a box office, that means
How many
everything.
Italian words can Jordan throw out?
I have a point to make about that later on.
We'll let you
Remind me.
these two
Do we do shots if he says mise en scène?
No, I just
because I'd like you to be coherent.
I just
Also-
slap the table and point at him.
I'm gonna try not to be boring this episode. I don't know.
Oh,
if
it's never boring. I've never found you boring. During one of these, he's starting.
The defender always starts.
I'm gonna need him to start because I'm gonna need something to latch onto with my hatred.
Otherwise, it's just sort of this nebulous cloud hanging over you.
It is, and then it
I have a
just
very
spirals.
specific
John
hatred
Candy
for
shaped
this movie, so-
nebulous cloud.
What is it? You start whenever you feel comfortable.
You're making
and I'll
Spider-Man
get
just
just
the ghost
going
of John
afterwards.
Candy.
Whatever you do, don't close your eyes and picture John Candy and drag. Whatever works for you.
The indignant ghost of John
It's a
Candy
joke.
and drag.
Just trying to picture Demi Moore in a romper. I mean,
All right.
I was
One of the two in a romper.
Okay.
Take your thoughts?
So, Nothing But Trouble.
Nothing but trouble.
Let's go for it. One of my all-time favorite comedies, actually. It's He looked at me like I was just out of my fucking mind.
You are right now.
So Nothing But Trouble is like a like a Dadaist, absurdist, pataphysical representation of all the shit that went wrong in the Rust Belt, and like the whole economic collapse of the Rust Belt, the whole and the fear that like urban people have for like rural people, like especially in the 80s, right? And Dan Aykroyd took all this and he took his brother's script, which had all this stuff in it, like all the stuff from like Alfred Jarre, Alfred. He took all the stuff from like the Dada movement, Alfred Jarre's like pataphysical movement, and like absurdism and grotesquism, and he turned it into a comedy that I think works incredibly well. Like particularly like in a 90s context, it's it's good. It's a good adventure story. It's got like all the humor works for me. It's like really like grotesque. It's really well edited. Not so much well shot. There's not a whole bunch of stuff going on with the camera. The editing's
no, let him keep going. He is distracted. Give him an extra 15 starting now.
But the editing is on point. I think the script is really good. Like some people might disagree. I think like the comedic timing, the jokes, they're all on point. I like Digital Underground coming in with like their weird little thing in the middle. It gives more of a nod to like absurdism. It's like that weird little segue. There's a whole thing that goddamn it. There's a whole thing in the middle.
Fucking out,
right?
That was with 15 seconds out.
Oh man. Well, he gave you lots to work with.
And yet not at the same time.
No, right?
If you've ever seen or read Ubu Run, there's a part in this that's like that. But okay, you can go for it.
This movie was fucking stupid. And not like the good kind of stupid where like you're a teenager and you're watching something like Jackass and your parents were like, this is a stupid movie. No, it's kind of funny. No, this movie was stupid. The biggest problem I had with this movie is it fell right in between like the idea of being a funny movie and being like a dark kind of view on police corruption and hillbillyism. It danced the line a little, almost too well. So in the end, it falls flat as both. It ain't that funny, and it's just depressing enough to make you feel sad about the possibilities of the legal system. Like, it doesn't do either really well. Especially like near the end, where everyone's like, oh, we're all on board with Judge Corrupt as shit. Like, no, that's not okay. Why should that be okay? But it's not a dark enough movie for the movie itself to make the fact that everyone's okay with it okay in the storytelling concept. It's just, it tries to do all of this, everything too much, and it collapses. It feels like a college project where you have someone who has all of these ideas and they try to cram it all into 90 minutes and it just sucks because of it. It's Dan Aykroyd tries to be a one-man show with John Candy being a one-man show, and John Candy is more than enough one man to be a one-man show, and the whole thing just falls apart and is just a mess. And I'm upset that I lost those 90 minutes, just like these 90 seconds that are now done.
So, Ryan, would you agree that the movie smells like Sao Paulo?
I guess. Come back. Essentially, my biggest problem with it is, like I said, you could take this concept and turn it into a really, really good, like, sociological, dark movie about, like,
but it's not supposed to be that.
About corrupt hillbilly police.
Right.
It's called The Hills Have Eyes.
You could be, like, a really funny movie, but it tries to do both. And in the end, it's flatter than like soda that was left out for 2 weeks.
I want to jump in here for a second because my point about the budget is related to what both of you are saying, and I think I have the missing piece here, right? So this movie had a $40 million budget, which is a huge budget.
That's a lot of money in 91 money.
Actually, it would have been like 90, like 89 money.
But like it all shows up on screen.
This movie has a cult following. Usually cult classics like
so
have a low budget.
And you like Sharknado.
Right, I do.
Usually those movies
I don't think you for liking this movie. I don't think any less of either of you for liking this movie. But I do think it's a terrible movie.
Let me make my point. Usually those kind of movies have a low budget, they have B-rated or C or D-rated actors, not A-list actors, not all this like wonderful special effects and stuff. I think that, even audiences today who come to this movie have their expectations so high because it's John Candy, it's Chevy Chase, it's Demi Moore, it's Dan Aykroyd.
Not to mention the soundtrack and score.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Ray Charles.
And so your expectations are this is going to be like a classic Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd movie. It's going to be funny. I can get the jokes. Nice. It's going to be wacky, right? But I think it's far like Jordan was making points. Like I think this movie is doing a lot weirder shit than most audiences are prepared for and are interested in seeing, right? In their John Candy, in their Chevy Chase, in their Demi Moore, right? You want to go watch that shit. You don't want to know who these actors are, and you want to know that they had like 50 grand to make the thing, and it was really
$10
hard, and they all
sandwich.
slept in one room, right? And then you can appreciate it, right? But I think with this movie, that was where they went wrong. Is like Peter Aykroyd, right? His brother is Dan Aykroyd. Of course, he's going to be able to like use those connections to get all this money. Shouldn't have done it. He should have just found some like weirdos in Hollywood, gone to some junkyard, and made this for like super cheap. And I think it would have been way better.
And he does have that cameo as the comedy Irish bellboy.
It would have been way
that
better with that super cheap budget.
No,
I'll agree with that.
I absolutely agree because my big complaint about this movie is the bones of this movie should have been amazing. Yeah. You've got these amazing actors. You've got this story which could have been really funny, and it just kind of went.
Which direction you went?
We're fine.
See, no, and I think I was hoping for I was thinking this could have been a really great, very dark comedy.
Like right on the heels of Arsenic and Old Lace, I can almost picture like if they'd done instead of Chevy Chase more like a Cary Grant interpretation for Mr. Thorne. That might have almost been better.
But it's not meant to be a dark comedy, it's meant to be an absurdist comedy.
But it should have been a dark
comedy. And I think it would have worked
gross.
better for me as an as a dark comedy than an absurdist comedy.
My least favorite part of this movie was the ending.
Yeah, I agree.
I hated the ending
I don't
so
like the
much.
three endings.
I don't really view this as an absurdist comedy or a dark comedy. I view it as an absurdist take on a dark comedy, not done very well.
I think it was.
Like a lot of the jokes, while it was funny, the timing was just off, or the mood was just not right.
How can you not love the sausage train and the pickle launcher?
Right.
How can you not love that?
Because it dragged on too long.
Hold on.
I did not sit there
Too long.
and allow you to launch pickles at my sister's face.
That's hilarious.
It dragged on way too long.
I was thinking you were like Mr. Bone Chiller. Like the whole Mr. Bone Stripper part, like that's terrifying. And then you have this ding, ding, as the bones are hitting the wall.
That doesn't bother me.
No. I can
that does not bother me because it fits with it. That is the dark comedy element that I'm looking for. I think I'm with Ryan though. The pacing of this movie was not good. Like some scenes went on way too long. Like the whole first act before they ever get to Pennsylvania is too long.
Oh yeah.
Like there were scenes where I could not figure out what was going on. Like in the elevator, all of a sudden he's holding a espresso maker. I'm like, where the hell did the espresso maker?
And dog shit.
Demi Moore gave it to him. He's like,
The dog shit bit made me laugh, but I was too busy being confused about the espresso maker.
But like, think about that whole scene, right? He's like looking around at his like surroundings. You know what I mean? He's like, he's got a cool espresso maker, and also he got dog shit from it. You know what I mean? Like it's pataphysics, right? So
it's weird.
Here's the thing about a pataphor, right? It's one step removed from a metaphor. So what it is Alfred Jarre fucking like came up with this stuff in like 1917 or whatever, right? He made like a play called Ubu Roy, and he also made potentially the first cyberpunk story.
Now you're just trying to draw us in with words.
You know, we don't like the word cyberpunk.
Yeah, well, like I've never actually read it because I don't read French, but it's apparently it's about bicycle racers who drink like beer that gives them like superhuman powers. But anyway, he made this thing called pataphysics, right? And what it is
give me superpowers?
it's a step removed from a metaphor. So a metaphor would be like me saying to you, you know, being a yuppie, you get nothing but dog shit, right? So it's like, it's great. There's espresso makers and elevators, but it's all ultimately like a pile of dog shit. In a metaphor, you see the metaphor expressed in the thing. So it's, you know, the guy's in the elevator and somebody hands him an espresso maker.
Bring to this and try to find a way.
He's been talking about metaphysics for years, so I've heard this before. I've never heard the word metaphysics. He's really into this. So.
Getting back to the thing I was saying for like the comedy, like had it just like when it was spewing the bones out, that was fine. It would have been humorous to me in the dark way. If all the bones are spitting out, instead of every single one hitting that bar and making the noise, it's just like at the end the skull got fired out. Ding! That's hilarious.
I feel that's with all the problems I have with that movie, I feel that's a little pedantic.
I'm just using that as like one example.
Should we do a quick synopsis since we're the only people who've seen this movie?
Yeah, go. Why don't Greg go to the synopsis?
I'm gonna get a beer.
Okay, basically, Chevy Chase is playing a financial.
Chevy Chase is playing the character Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase is playing Chevy Chase in a movie. He's playing a financial advisor named Thorne who's trying to get into Demi Moore's pants. He is taking her to Atlantic City so that she can go and fuck up her ex-fiance's business affairs because he is fucking up her business affairs. In the midst, he ends up having his Brazilianaire clients come with him because they're idiots.
Don't disagree.
They go and decide that no, they don't want to go to Atlantic City now. They want to go have a scenic picnic, and they end up getting lost in fucking nowhere, Pennsylvania, where Chevy Chase runs a red light, decides he's going to run from a cop after the Brazilianaires egg him on.
You have a BMW, act like it.
You have a Beamer, act like you have a Beamer. He gets caught by the cops, they go before the Reeve, and then they go and find out how fucked up this Shire is. Another group gets
back to that.
Yeah. Another group gets caught by the police. They get fed to Mr. Bone Stripper.
What is Mr. Bone Stripper, Greg?
Mr. Bone Stripper is basically an amusement park ride meat grinder, which people are launched in and bones come out, and that is your justice.
Doesn't matter what your offense is.
Yeah, doesn't matter if it was jaywalking, drugs, pulling a gun on a cop,
Or simply being a banker.
Yes, being a banker is brought up repeatedly because the Justice's family got screwed over in the past. The Brazilianaires make a break during dinner. Chevy Chase tries to make a break. They get caught. Evidently, John Candy grabs him, and that means he has his taint on her.
That's the face I make too.
So now he has to marry her. They try to escape. John, it keeps going downhill until they blow the fucking town up. The state police, the attorney general, and the National Guard show up, only to reveal they're in on it with Dan Aykroyd being crazy judge. And then the city blows up and falls into a mine shaft.
I wrote down the phrase Deus Ex Coal Fire.
Yeah.
Because
Deus Ex Diabolus Ex Machina.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. I also made several comments about Silent Hill. Before I found out that the coal seam was on fire.
Yeah, it was based on Centralia.
I know how it was based on. Before I found out the coal seam was on fire, when they drive through the town, and it's like drive faster, I hear banjos. I was
squealing like a pig, boy.
I was going, is this Silent Hill? And then it just like the coal fire. Because it was a little Deus Ex.
Both based on the same town.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. I did not realize this was also based on Centralia.
Yes. Yep.
I was going to mention something that you talked about. Oh! So, the justice, I cannot actually
remember. Alvin Vulcanizer.
Yeah, the Reeve. He is talking about, we're based on such and such pre-Magna Carta law, which this is where I got really stuck on because
that predates colonialism.
This is my pedantic.
That's not what English law is based on.
The pre-Magna Carta law makes no sense in this context because the colonists were going to figure if these guys based their political or their judicial system on pre-Magna Carta law, they were like fishing for something like ridiculous. They had to specifically look for it, which runs counter to every basis in English and American law. I mean, they based it. It's post-Constitution.
I like how Jenny and I got hung up on totally irrelevant minor details.
But it's another metaphor, though, because
hers is pre-Magna Carta law. Mine and Greg's is the fact that the sheriff himself, the constable, is riding around with a Tech 9.
Fuck yeah!
I'll actually follow through on what Jenny was bringing up, because American law is based off English common law, which is derived from the Magna Carta. So their legal system in this shire, because we would use county, but no, they're using shire, has nothing to do with American justice. You walk into Valkenvania, say goodbye to any legal precedent you understand, having a lawyer with you means jack shit.
Which, by the way, absolutely contradicts the concept of federalism.
Yeah, the
which means
Constitution.
technically everybody who is participating in the legal system in this shire should go to jail.
Exactly. It's a
They all authorize it. Everyone is like, oh yeah, we're the state.
The one thing to remember though, Pennsylvania is weird out of the United States. Pennsylvania is not a state.
No, it's a commonwealth.
It is a religious commonwealth.
So is Massachusetts.
Yep.
However, they signed the Constitution,
Yeah.
and therefore under the concept of federalism.
I know.
And they have to. I mean, they're still a part of it.
Yeah.
Ditto's with Massachusetts.
It's just one of those like weird things where there is enough of a gray area where they can argue, but they're not arguing in good faith. But now we're getting more into a legal, political.
I think this is all supporting the idea that this is an absurdist movie.
It is absolutely.
You're not supposed to like look for logic in it. You're supposed to.
I always look for
this
logic.
Is fucking crazy. Well, you know, it's hard to watch movies if you always want them to make sense. Like fantasy movies won't make sense.
But I want my movies to make a little bit of sense.
I want to make consistency.
Yeah.
There's none of it here. This movie is one of those movies,
which is why it's absurdist, though. Like, it's not supposed to
where
be.
you always try to think, what's the worst possible outcome for the character?
That was it.
Mr. Bone
Mr. Bone Stripper.
Like, can we
Okay,
talk?
everyone get a little closer to the table.
No.
What?
I have a problem where if I'm watching a movie, if someone does something embarrassing that I can't watch it, and Dan Aykroyd tripped that for me for a couple times.
Several times.
I take my nose off.
I have a
That
problem.
did not trip me.
The
really
dick
not.
nose.
I have a problem where Greg was traumatized as a child by this movie and made us watch it.
I'm an evil bastard. We have covered this.
And a lot of people were traumatized.
I'm a
by
firm
this.
believer in hashtag break the cycle, and this is absolutely not doing that.
I am not a firm believer in break the cycle. I am a firm believer in spread the virus.
Hopefully this is good therapy for you, having other people on board with the weird.
I don't know what break the cycle is.
All right, I'm gonna ask you guys. So the insane insistence on random Rube Goldberg-esque machines
Right.
everywhere. What's the metaphor behind
The
that?
metaphor behind that
Because it
is
just annoyed me.
right. Well, the metaphor behind that is like it's the legal system being labyrinthian and not making any sense, and like having a whole bunch of weird shit happening to make one thing work, and it doesn't quite work the way they want it to. It's like they shoot the pickle at the lady's face. You know, for example, and like the Mr. Bone Stripper never actually
shoot a pickle at
right?
lady's face. Whatever.
Mr. Bone Stripper never actually hits the target with his bones. It always falls short. You know?
Go ahead, the compliments on your dog. I got him.
I sat through that whole thing and it annoyed me. It's like just like everything had to have some weird Rube Goldberg-esque like machine to it.
I love it. That's just like sweet set design too. The set design of this movie is awesome.
I actually agree on the set design.
Yeah.
They put a lot of thought into the detail, and like I went around looking, going, yeah.
That's where a lot of the budget went. Just like piles of human bones coming out of the wall and shit.
First off, I want to know why the Reeve just collects thigh bones in his bedroom. Like, of all things to collect.
It's from the shoot for people getting stuck down there.
Yeah, which
and
is
also
just thigh bones, though. There was
also
no
because
other
he's missing his leg. And I think that has something to do with it.
I do agree about the set design, is that they did it, other than the scene where they're opening random doors, and that, because that felt a little cartoony, like I felt like I was in an episode of Scooby-Doo.
Ah, my skunk!
Or like he opens the door and like he's just making puns after he opens every door. We all know how I feel about puns.
They're glorious.
How do you feel about puns, Jenny?
Shut up, Ryan. But it looked like a hoarder house. It looked like
enough punishment
like
for
every
me.
time there was a guy down the road from where I grew up who was like not right in the head, and he was like the guy who collected like random junk and piles of junk on his property. And when they drive in, I'm like, geez, this looks like this guy's house. Like he just have random piles of stuff.
But check it out. Here's the metaphor for that, right?
You're having a great time.
It's a new mise en scène.
Like all the random crap and junk, and this is mise en scène technically because it's in the
I knew you were going to say that word.
Because we all need them now.
Shot. It's from a Deck 9.
But the metaphor for that is like this whole place is collecting all the fucking like all the crap that happened when the Rust Belt started to collapse and the economic collapse of like this area of the country, this Pennsylvania.
Even though it's the wrong side of Pennsylvania for that dirt girl.
Right, but
it's not the Rust Belt at all.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be.
Centralia is over by Scranton, so it's over by Philadelphia.
But it still
it's
fell
far enough it works.
right. It still fell victim to like the economic, the industrial collapse. Those are coal mining towns, and we ran out of the use for coal to power factories.
And this was supposed to have been a coal mining town. That's what the raw.
You were just a poor coal miner's daughters, weren't you, Claire?
Ryan totally left when I said mise en scène.
Yeah, he's done. He's moved out. Can we do? I think we can all agree. Demi Moore, way too hot for Chevy Chase.
Super hot in this movie.
Like,
probably the hottest.
Her lipstick was fantastic the entire movie. I'm looking at. I thought John Candy's eyeliner was fantastic.
He was
He
rocking
did a
it.
great job with the winging on
I
that.
like this old timey underwear.
I honestly thought. I mean, I always forget
I do like my
that
old timey
John
underwear.
Candy was actually really funny in his most understated roles.
Right.
Where he wasn't being absurd.
Buck.
Like when he's like in the character of Dennis, he's the one just pretty much the most level-headed person
The only sane man in the room.
and then he's funny like that. And honestly, I cannot remember the sister's name. Eldora?
Aldona. Or
Eldona.
something
I think
like
he's very funny in that part too. In a different way. Like
He doesn't say a word.
Doesn't say a word, so it's all the facial acting,
Yeah.
and that's something that I always forget that that John Candy is good at. I think Dan Aykroyd is also funnier when he's playing the straight man, and clearly in this movie he was not.
When he's doing like the Ray from Ghostbusters.
Yes, I think that's his funniest.
Because in the movie Volunteers, like John Candy was just kind of the wacky guy from Walla Walla, Washington.
That's true.
It was just like he's the large ham, and I tend to like Candy when he is eating the scenery.
Yeah.
And see, and
he was good at being like the weird fat guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's John Candy. He has to.
I also feel like at some point when they were filming the movie, they were like, "Oh shit, we forgot about the Brazilianaires. We need to figure this out." Like, because they kind of laugh.
They do disappear. Yeah.
And then you're like, I kind of
After smelling like Sao Paulo.
and then like they just kind of like eventually wandered back in the shot. So I was kind of like, they forgot about them for a while, didn't they? Like when they were filming this.
The other thing is the Brazilian actors. Apparently, the actress, the name that eludes me, the actress who played the sister
With a weird name.
was like some kind of Latina pop star.
Oh, nice.
The guy looks familiar. I
guy's
feel
in
like
a ton
I've seen him in
movies.
several movies.
Yeah.
Is he in Predator 2?
I don't know.
This movie has like a Predator.
All I can remember about Predator 2 is
Danny
Danny
Glover.
Glover. I'm just gonna
How
say anything else.
sweaty Danny Glover is.
Everyone in that movie was sweating.
I love it. It's so moist.
It's
Yeah, I know, it totally is. Yeah, I love it. It makes me feel hot. I love that movie.
Predator 2 makes me hot as well.
Yeah, we should do Predator 2.
We should do
I've
Predator
seen it
2.
already though.
We should do a good movie for once.
We should do a movie.
That's like
about
an
it.
First Ticket to Last is a good movie, and I'll fight everybody who says that. What's the other thing I was gonna say? I really did not like. I agree with Greg that I think that there was too many endings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 endings is too many.
Too many. And I really hated the Bugs Bunny exit at the end of the movie.
Yeah. That was
Like,
so
that
out
was
of
weird.
place.
So was super
Like
weird.
in an out of place movie, the Bugs Bunny exit was out of place.
I would have liked
Out of placeception.
I would have liked any one of those endings if they were just the one ending. Like the Bugs Bunny ending would have been okay with me if it was just at the end of the movie the coal fire like consumes the house, they escape, and you see the thing in the news and Bugs Bunny ending. That would have been fine.
Or the police turn
around.
Or escaping on the train.
Yeah, but like not all three of them. It's like they couldn't figure out how to end it, which is
Gone.
a thing I don't like about modern movies. They always have too many endings. Like movies after 1991.
Who in the world did you think he was in Predator 2?
Is he not in it?
Well, I'm sure he's not, but the question, I'm like looking through the actors in Predator 2, and I'm like, who the fuck did you think he was?
It feels like he's like a random ass like Latin gangster.
Oh, I did make notes at the
That's
beginning
half
of
the
the car chase
cast.
scene. I
That's
wrote,
true.
I did not expect the Fast and the Furious in this movie. Like, I was just so completely surprised by watching the Fast and the Furious in this movie.
Oh man.
Sheriff's car with after.
What did everyone think of Bobo and Little Devil?
They were
I know, I was waiting
weird.
for someone to bring
And
them
the
up.
reason they were weird is they
Oh,
were
they're
completely did not fit. And
No, they
it's like,
really didn't.
It did
Not
to an
in any
extent,
kind of
because if
good
you're looking
way.
at it from at this point, the original Hills Have Eyes
that
has
weird
come out.
inbred
They are the
hillbilly.
weird
Yeah.
inbred hillbilly
Right.
cousins that they're not allowed in the house.
But they're not
because
actually evil. They're just
no,
dumb.
they're the most. They are the least monstrous of the not Dennis members of the family.
And that goes and tells you something about the family. The weird, really inbred, almost inhuman level
definitely
ones are the most human members of these families, aside from John Candy, the cop.
I was actually-
That's a common like theme in these kind of movies, though, where you'll have like a monstrous character being the most human
People under the stairs.
one.
The Goonies.
The
Yeah,
Goonies.
like I mean, you see it all the time. The monstrousism of them though was just so out of place for the movie.
The makeup was
I
really
wasn't
good.
saying that it wasn't,
But you
but
could
it
have.
was very out of place.
You could have made them monstrous in a way that flowed better with the rest of the feeling of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, when I was making sure that my copy was playing right, I jumped a few scenes and I thought, oh, must be there's like a sci-fi fantasy element to this because I popped those guys up.
Yeah.
Because I was just trying to make sure everything was working. And then so I go back to the beginning and there's not, and these guys just show up in this, and I'm like, one of them is Dan Aykroyd, by the way.
Yeah, we checked that.
It's also the only one credited, if I'm not mistaken.
No, the other one is, but he's not credited in the Photoshop.
okay.
Like
Credits, he's in the scrolling credits because I
Scrolling
watched.
credits,
Honestly.
yes, Photoshop thing, they're both credited as being.
I think within the context of the movie, I think those guys fit perfectly well. Like in a movie where, like, considering Dan Aykroyd was in World War I, so he's like 120 years old.
But he's not, because somebody's like
Somebody
89, so
somebody
he's
actually
only
figured it out.
like 80 years old.
No.
Oh, really?
106, right?
106. Somebody figured out the
106?
character.
Well,
Still, he's a spry motherfucker for 106.
So like the concept isn't necessarily alien for the movie, but the actual characterization,
Just the makeup and
The
stuff.
character design,
it's too monstrous for a movie that otherwise has like no really monstrous elements.
not physically monstrous.
Go get the ball peen hammer. Go with the ball peen.
All of their lines the same, all of their mannerisms the same. It
Right.
just had them be less
Cartoon.
grotesque and
I'm
cartoony.
not working for
Honestly,
you.
I can't come up with a metaphor for those guys.
We have broken your mise en scène. Where is your god now?
Oh my God,
So we're in
it's
Italy relaxing.
Sergio Leone.
taking a break from this movie. He was like, I'm done.
This movie is strange.
Oh man. I don't know, I dug them. I dug that they were too fat to graduate high school. What the hell does that even mean? That never happens.
They weren't acknowledging the fact, they weren't aware of the fact that they were dumb.
Right.
That's
So
possible.
they had to come up with another reason why they couldn't finish high school. Well, you got fat, so we couldn't finish high
Well,
school.
also remember when they first show the courthouse, it says the Vulcanvania Shire Court and School System. That means
And they're not allowed in the house, so they
The
couldn't
judge-
graduate high school.
the judge is very likely also their teacher. So if he goes and says
Right.
they're too fat to finish high school,
Nice. I'm sure there's a metaphor in there somewhere.
In some
Why
like
not?
actually positive writing.
I'm done being boring.
All right,
You're not boring.
you're
There's a lot
not.
of things.
So I mean, you're not boring. Not that you're not
Right.
done being boring. It actually something that I thought was impressive writing wise and surprised me considering a lot of the gags are very heavy-handed. They had 2 jokes, like brick jokes that circled around that were funny.
Paulo.
The Sao Paulo joke that smells like Sao Paulo, and then like 45 minutes later, Chevy Chase is doing the same thing. But the one I thought was better is when they first are introduced to Dan Aykroyd in full old man makeup, and Chevy Chase is like, what is that, a rubber nose? And then there's the scene, completely unexpected, where he's like spying on the Reeve, getting ready for bed, and his nose frickin' comes off. I'm like, I did not expect that. I thought that was like a throwaway sort of line. So that actually did impress me in terms of writing, because I was like, oh, like that's kind of funny, because I wasn't anticipating it. And a lot of some of the other gags, anticipating it. Speaking of gags and things that I don't understand, go ahead.
Is the judge's nose being a cock, is that like a...
Oh, that was a deliberate choice by Dan Aykroyd.
Right.
It's literally just a hidden dick joke.
But is it a reference to The Wall? Pink Floyd's The Wall, where the judge is big fucking cock and balls?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Knowing Dan Aykroyd, it very well could be.
Yeah.
Sir.
I was willing to go and write
Dan Aykroyd knows too much about art for his...
But then Trav informed me, no, Dan Aykroyd did not touch drugs. So I decided to write this movie as Dan Aykroyd was drunk and drunk on his success.
Things that I don't understand. Musical number in the middle of the movie.
That's awesome!
Digital
Underground!
First off, I spent a lot of time going, I don't know who any of these people are. I assume they're a real band. Whose nose is that man?
You've never heard that?
It's clearly not his own.
You've never heard the Humpty
That was
Dance?
his part of his style.
You've never heard the Humpty Dance? The Humpty
Yeah.
Dance is
That's
digital.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, the thing, like, I was like, all right, absurd. This is absurd. I'm with it. I'm okay. I don't like this, but it's happening.
Do you like this more or
The
less?
thing
That's what I think for the whole movie. I
The
don't like
thing
this.
that bothered me.
Weirdly, is that's what all the characters in the movie are.
Dan Aykroyd's inexplicable organ solo in the middle of the song.
Yeah, with the 2 groupies, like...
Yeah, I was like, okay, I could go with him being like, all right, this is cool,
There's
but
a-
like his like jumping in on it, I'm like, why?
There's a reason I said this was for your viewing displeasure.
There's kind of a thing to that, though, if I may. Everything up to this point with Judge Alvin has shown that he is a control freak, and he wants everything to be centered on and focused around him. So this band rolls into his courtroom, and he orders them to bring their instruments in to prove that they're musicians. Can't just have them, like, sing or something. And then he jumps in and takes center stage with that solo, making the whole scene about him. It's very much in character for the judge.
Weirdly enough,
I still don't like it.
I don't like it at all.
Normally we'll talk about a movie and we'll dissect it and we'll analyze it and we'll be like, you're giving this movie way too much credit. Weirdly enough, it's like the exact opposite in this movie. There's probably 100 million things that we're not actually seeing working under it, and it's just Dan Aykroyd being like too clever for his own good, basically.
Yeah, he is being pretty clever.
He didn't have Harold Ramis to drain him in.
I like every one of the judge's lines. I have no idea why, but like all this,
dog rocket.
yeah, right? That dog rocket. Fucking, if you're an ambulance, you got a chance. If it's a hearse, you gotta be worse. Like that's
Like, the
awesome.
movie's definitely too clever for its own good.
I mean, I like this film. And then the cat's eyes will roll!
Right.
There's probably just all kinds of undercurrents and just like hidden meanings and jokes and all kinds of things that go over everyone's head. And I'm sure there's no one.
Except mine.
And Dan
I'm sure no one aside from Dan Aykroyd did everything in this movie.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd is sitting there watching everyone not get the movie, and he's going, I'm a genius.
I get the movie
that
now.
sums it up really well, in my opinion. Dan Aykroyd going, I'm a genius because no one gets it.
I bet he's glad he traumatized all those kids.
It's okay, all you Ghostbusters fans.
This is what they got for Ghostbusters.
New interpretation. This is Dan Aykroyd's take on postmodern art. It is what the viewer sees.
And
Nice.
so, in that case, in Greg's case, it's a
I see
horribly
trauma.
traumatic experience that made him terrified of his own mother and cars for a long time. We can get Freudian with that. What the hell was the other thing I was going to ask? Okay, here's the other thing that
I wasn't terrified of my mother.
I want to see
terrified
anyone
of my
else's interpretation. The menu at dinner. I've seen menus like that designed by 4-year-olds.
What, hot dog on white bread?
Hot dog on white bread and warm Hawaiian punch. Like, so I was like, this is...
That's Hawaiian punch.
Why?
To friends.
Well,
There's
I want to know what
like at the end of the day is a room temperature Hawaiian.
but I want to know how much BMW and Hawaiian Punch played for their parts in this movie.
Like, the whole concept made me, like, feel dumb. But the fact that he took, like, an oil can did make me chuckle.
Yeah.
Like, that sums up the whole movie. 2 steps towards duh and 1 step towards giggle.
At the end of it, it's going to be more duh.
Yeah, and over time, you get way more duh than you do giggle.
We still get a
This
lot
is
of
sort of a
it.
running gag with Demi Moore pulling stuff out of her cleavage after falling down a chute.
Yeah, those weird squeaky toys that fall
Yeah,
into.
it's just giant ball
I didn't get that.
toys.
Yeah, I didn't know why that was
You're
there.
nothing but trouble.
Can we all admit the scene where the Guidos all get killed by Mr. Bone Stripper is awesome?
Yeah.
Mostly because they're
What immediately precedes that? Like, oh no, please don't.
Right?
That's why I like. I thought John Candy. I really liked.
John Candy, the badass. I'm not gonna lie, I had a little bit of a hard time for like.
I liked it though.
Like believing it.
I had a hard time believing it, but I liked it. He's kind of a badass in Stripes.
Uncle Buck.
Oh
I
yeah,
seen
he's
like
a
half
hard
of
ass.
Uncle Buck, and then I think I fell asleep. So what's our post-mortem? I think we're just gonna be like.
Overall, I didn't enjoy this movie. I'm not gonna watch it again. That's what it comes down to. I'm not gonna watch it again under pain of death or
every couple of years.
I think Trav and I agree in that this movie, I feel like it could have been so much more.
Yeah.
And it was not.
Also, how I feel about it.
It
As I
just
said
either
earlier.
pick a direction and run, sprint in that direction.
Instead, it kind of splits its legs and falls on a rail.
I think Dan Aykroyd. It was Dan Aykroyd being too clever for his own good.
Pursue 2 rabbits, you catch neither.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sun Tzu.
That's not who I wanted to
Native
say.
American. Other side of the planet.
They might have read The Art of War.
All right, whatever. I've never read The Art of War. It's irrelevant.
You should.
It's a good book.
It's awesome.
All right.
If you are raiding a village, make sure you have time to plunder a goat.
That's Welsh, you're thinking.
No, that's sheep.
And that's bum.
Make sure you have time to bum a sheep.
Please don't pantomime that ever again.
Sheep bumming.
No, but the set design was amazing. Actually, the costuming I thought was really good. I really liked John Candy's wedding dress.
Yeah,
I thought that was amazingly over the
all the
top.
drag was fucking
Those are
badass.
words that were just uttered. I really like.
John Candy and drag comes out, and all I'm thinking is this is Mimi from the Drew Carey show. This is how that gets started.
I am very, very glad that they only did one scene of the 2 of them in the same scene. I thought, thank you for not
Right.
making that a gag, because that would have been annoying.
The audio goes to hell.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
And the video, like the visual,
You
is
can tell that they shot
decidedly
half
not
the
as
scene and then they
good.
overlaid the other half.
So that was a smart choice on their part to be like, all right, let's do that once and then never put them in the same shot again. They made the right call on that one. Otherwise, it would have been a huge blow. Their $40 million budget would have blown.
Watch out before my cousin catches up to it. She's a real ditch bitch.
I can't figure out the
this movie's
cousin
incredibly
accent.
quotable.
She sounded
Yeah,
like she was
it does.
from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like she picked up accent and went,
It's an
Minnesota.
exercise in the concept of like the sum is not equal to the value of the parts.
Well, it's not the first movie that I've had this problem.
No, but like it's a perfect example.
It won't be
Usually,
the
a movie is greater than the sum of its parts. So a little bit on the other side of that spectrum.
I don't know. I don't understand all the hate, but
You don't understand hate in general. I'm getting the feel.
maybe not for certain things, but not for.
I'm gonna
films.
find a movie that you hate.
Do it.
And that we love.
Make me
Not
watch a movie.
just a movie that you hate, but a movie that you hate and that we love.
Okay,
Oh,
what
God.
like when you say we, am I in this we?
Yeah,
How many movies do we both like?
that's irrelevant.
Dear God, why do we always talk about Rocky movies? I can't remember them now.
Right?
There's some movies like
Simple majority.
Any
There's
movie
gotta
with
be
a song Holy Diver in it.
More so than that. There's gotta be one where you just despise it.
Any romantic comedy.
Well, maybe not.
Okay, let's go.
Whoa.
Let's watch The Notebook.
No, that's a
I hate
good
The
lead.
Notebook, yeah.
That's a
Let's
good
hear
lead.
romantic comedies.
I'm sure you do.
Not
Why?
romantic comedy.
Why? I have a soft spot for like
It's a
holiday
comedy
romantic comedies, like
Oh,
all kinds of just white chick movies.
Bridget Jones' Diary. That's a good one.
I'm gonna find one that
I
you're
know.
like, oh god, why would anyone watch this? It's dribble.
I don't like romantic comedies.
Yeah.
That's why I said simple.
But will the
you
majority
lie.
like it still?
But if
Huh?
we get this
But
big
will the
Jordan
majority
suffer,
like
it's
it?
worth
I
it.
will find.
I have watched.
I like a
one-
lot of found footage. I hate in general.
That's true. You do hate found footage.
Okay,
the
but-
problem is you gotta find one for the rest of these people
Yeah,
to agree
that's
with.
true.
Because I found
Found footage is abysmal. I mean, like artistically, I can see.
Survival
Artistically, I
of
see
the
where it
Dead.
has a point, but I don't ever want to
I
watch.
have like
Survival of
one
the Dead.
romantic comedy in theaters.
Really?
Yeah.
Survival of the Dead. It is a Romero
Seen it.
found
Yeah.
footage
Romantic
zombie
I've been
movie.
meaning to watch it.
Yes,
It's not the best.
It is not a
Okay,
good
yeah.
movie.
I've heard
I'm gonna find a found footage rom-com.
Oh yeah.
What?
I think I got a little nauseous.
I was just
I
like,
definitely did.
Jordan,
You mean a
What do I call you? My name is Dick Sledge.
Oh,
The
jeez.
Polish pulverizer.
Nice.
I think we're done.
Are we done?
Trav outro us.
Oh, God, let me.
Is it okay?
Alright.
We're gonna be here
From
for
all of us down here at Brazil Craft Beer and Wine Lounge, we are Cinema Synergy.
We are sorry.
We are
She has nothing to
Jordan
be sorry for.
Ryan, Trav, and Greg is Dick Sledgehammer.
The head results.
And there's Doug on camera helping us out. We wouldn't be able to do any of this without him and his toys. Thank you and good night.